The Talmud says an amazing thing. The Talmud says that every person born in each of the 12 months of the Jewish calendar has a different mazel, has a different zodiac sign that tells about their deeper inclinations, their deeper intuitions, their deeper, nature of who they are. And the Talmud says that someone born in a specific one of the zodiacs will be a murderer. They'll love to spill blood. King David was born in that zodiac sign, right? In Ma'adim. So now the actual question is, what do you mean? So you're telling me that if I was born in a specific time, that this is who I'm going to be? I'm going to be a murderer? No, the Talmud says, don't worry. There are great things you can do with this. You were given a certain set of tools. Your job is to utilize those tools and become the best you can be with those tools. In what way? Well, you can be a mole. A mole spills blood. You can be a shochet, a slaughterer who slaughters animals so that they be ritually slaughtered and kosher. Or you can be a doctor or a nurse today, right? And they have to sometimes take your blood. That is also means you can utilize the traits that you have and navigate them in a way of positivity. We all, every single human being is given a different set of tools. We are all unique. We're all special. Every single one of us, even if you have a twin brother or a twin sister, okay? We're all unique. I know many twins. I grew up with many friends who were twins. They didn't like the same foods. They didn't like the same colors. They didn't like the same type of music. There was nothing similar about them. That's if they're twins. They grew up in the same womb, right? But if someone didn't, so just a brother or a sister, someone who grew up in a different family, someone who grew up in a different community, someone who grew up in a totally different place, guess what? They're so different than you. They're so unique. And their challenges and your challenges are not the same. We are all special. We're all different. And we each need to make our choices to become the best possible person we can become. So I want to share with you a story, right? An amazing story about a high school kid who wanted to play basketball. And he was thrown off his basketball team because he wasn't good enough. And that little basketball player became Michael Jordan, right? And most people don't know that Michael Jordan, I just checked today his Wikipedia page, and he has more awards for MVP than there's almost lines on the page from all the different awards he received from NBA. But he was thrown off his high school basketball team, and he didn't say, I'm not going to try anymore. He didn't say, I'm going to give up for basketball. It's all over. Or how about Nick Vujicic, okay, from Australia, right? He was born without any limbs, no hands, no legs, nothing. He was bullied as a child, as you can imagine. He's, limping around without any limbs. And today he's married, has beautiful children, and started an organization called Born Without Limbs to empower people, to say, I'm not going to stop because someone laughed at me. And he made choices instead of running away from life and running away from challenges, running towards those challenges and embracing them. Someone else in the sports world who has always been really an incredible story of inspiration. There's a guy who grew up in Chicago. You know how cold Chicago is. I don't know, wherever you are in I see some Toronto people, some New York. In Houston, thank God, it's terribly freezing. It's about 64 degrees right now. So we're all got our coats and we're all, trying to warm up in this freezing, frigid weather. But in Chicago, it gets really, really cold. And this kid, growing up his entire life, couldn't be home before a certain hour. He went to public school and he could not be home before a certain hour because his father was a violent drunken. And if he got home before his father passed out from his alcohol, his father would beat him to a pulp. So you know what he did? He stayed in school, outside in the schoolyard, and shot basketballs, and shot, and shot, and shot. and he became Larry Bird. And most people don't know that about Larry Bird. They think, oh, wow, it probably came from some, wealthy home, and he came from a very poor family and very underprivileged. But he decided he's going to do something and not allow his situation to pull him down. And we have stories galore about people who didn't, Andrea Bocelli, right? The great tenor, right? Who everybody's heard of, who won told awards, right? For his voice, is blind and did not let that limitation stop him. Any person who's ever accomplished something great, whether it be running a marathon, whether it be losing weight, had to face serious struggles. We all do on a regular basis. Even building up your business, you have to have determination. You have to have, an endless passion to accomplish and to not let go, because you'll have naysayers and you'll have people who say, it's never going to work. So many people tried to start such a business. If you go over to someone and say, I have an idea, I want to open up an electronics store. Right? You know what they're going to tell you? Well, what do we need you? We have Best Buy. Why do we need Target when we have Walmart? Well, Mr. Lowe's didn't think about that when he started his home improvement store. He knew that there was a Home Depot, but he wanted to offer something different. Target knew that there was a Walmart, but he wanted to offer something different. And same thing with every supermarket. These are people who didn't see challenge as a limitation. They saw challenge as an opportunity. And when we talk about free will, we have the ability in our lives to accomplish the unimaginable. There is nothing that can stop us if we are determined to accomplish. And we have the free will to do so. There's so much to talk about in free will that, I always look back in my own life at different points of where we made a right turn or a left turn, and then we have to deal with the next set of challenges that come after that, right? We today, every single one of us today has that same challenge. We have a challenge, there's an election for those of you who are in the United States, that, but those in Canada, you may not know that we just had an election 2 weeks ago. And everyone has this urge to check on the news. I want to see what's going on. Is anything changing? Is things not changing? Are things really happening? Are things not happening? Right? Or we can say, everything is in the hands of the Almighty, right? We have a choice. Whether we decide to go to synagogue, whether we go to listen to another class, whether we push ourselves to teach a class. I bet we have now 68 people over here on this class. How many of us feel capable of teaching a Torah class? I bet most of us would say, me? I'm not a rabbi, right? I can't teach a class. But guess what? Every single word of Torah that you've ever learned, you can teach. Get a group of friends together, sit them around in your house, in your living room. COVID, of course, you have to be careful. Use whatever precautionary measures are necessary. And just share the love you have for Judaism. Invite them to your Shabbos table. That also is free will. And I'll tell you, I have an amazing story that happened. I got a phone call from Rabbi Yitz Greenman many years ago. It's probably 13 or 14 years ago. Rabbi Yitz Greenman was a rabbi in Passaic. Many of you may know he was the director. He's an Aish student. And he called me up. He says, I just met a young man in Houston. Okay, he says, I met him in New York. He's from Houston. He says he's not connected to anything. Nothing. He's not connected to anything. And now I'll tell you, my life, thank God, we're very, very fortunate to have many, many people at our Shabbos table. But every once in a while, we have those Shabboses that there's nobody. It's just the family. It's just the family. And that Shabbos was one of them. But I get this phone call from my dear friend, Rabbi Yitz Greenman. He tells me, make this phone call this guy, maybe invite him for a Shabbos. So I did what I always do. Right when I hung up the phone, I called him. And I said, hello, right? he actually picked up the phone. Usually they don't. Usually I get a voicemail. I leave a message 3 weeks later. They're not really interested. I've got many of those. Called him up. I said, hey, would you like to come for Shabbos? We were schmoozing for a little bit. You like to come for Shabbos? And he came for Shabbos. And it was one of those, again, it was an off Shabbos for our family, but I said, I'll make an exception because I don't know if I'll have another opportunity like this. That individual, from that one experience, and he's repeated this many times, he's been honored by many synagogues here in Houston, he's been, he's been to Jerusalem, he's been to Eish HaTorah, he's been to many institutions. From one invitation, right? One invitation can change a life. Now, we all have that free will. We all have that free will to say, you know what? I can do a little bit more. Or, nah, I'm not comfortable with it. And like we saw here, the beautiful words of Rabbi Noach Weinberg, right? The battle of free will is practically defined as the choice between what you truly want, life, and what you feel like doing in the moment. Many times we're like, you know what? I'll push it off. I'll get to it a little bit later. I'll get to it a little bit later. But I can do it right now. We all have people who are in need of something. Can we reach out to them? Can we call them? Can we inspire them? Right? So, my dear friends, free will is in your hands. You can accomplish anything. There's nothing that a person can set their sights to that they cannot accomplish. Let's harness that power. Let's do everything that's in our ability to go get them. Because there's nothing that stands in our way. The way in which a person wants to go, God ushers us there. He helps us get there. So Hashem is right behind us, pushing us, guiding us to the path that we choose. So thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity, and I look forward to learning together in the future.